From 1964 to 1973, the U.S. fought a devastating war in Vietnam. The goal was to prevent the Communist North from taking over the non-Communist South. This was the first TV war broadcast every night into every living room in America. And yet there was a secret side to this very public war. Next door to Vietnam was the tiny neutral country of Laos. The North Vietnamese were ferrying supplies through the mountains and on through Lao territory to their troops in South Vietnam along the infamous Ho Chi Minh Trail. The U.S. was desperate to block the flow of enemy supplies down the trail, but we had made an international commitment not to have troops in Laos, so for a decade we dropped bombs from aircraft onto Laos in a side war that was secret from the American public and catastrophic for Laos. Over 10 years, we dropped hundreds of millions of cluster bombs over Laos, with a special focus on the trail and the towns and villages nearby. A generation of Lao children grew up in caves, where their families tried to shelter from the violence. And the destruction didn't end when the war did. Nearly a third of those cluster bombs didn't detonate when they were dropped. They are still there, 80 million of them, still ready to do what they were designed for, to kill. Over 50,000 Lao civilians have been killed or wounded by these bombs. Now, 50 years later, teams of brave Lao technicians work across the country to clear these aging, lethal bombs. They clear schoolyards so children can play in safety, rice paddies so farmers can plant without the risk of sudden, violent death. Restoration Laos funds Mine Action Team 53, which works on the remote Vietnam border. 50 years ago, the Ho Chi Minh Trail slipped into Laos through the Mujia mountain pass. Today, we are working to clean up the American bombs that still litter farms, villages, and schools. Here, Ms. Lampian, the team leader, briefs us on the team's work before we go to meet individual team members and see them at work in the field.
And the west is ระเบิดส่วนหลายแม้จะเป็นระเบิดกระปางเนาะโดยมาจากการโจมตีของอเมริกามอบให้ที่บ้านยาหวายเป้าหมายแม่นเส้นทางและทำลี้ภัยของตัวแม่ประชาชนในเมื่อก่อน The most of the bomb obviously is the most foul the actual is the cluster munition and the aim of the bombing is to block the Ho Chi Minh Trail during the war. We start working here on June 5th. And we expect to finish on July 14th.
My beginner's grasp of Lao language is enough to allow me to meet and greet and chat with members of the team, all of whom, except for the driver, are women. Taiwan. Hong Na. Today, members of Team 53 are clearing explosives from a rice paddy so that villagers can safely plant and harvest for the first time in half a century. Finding the explosives is a laborious task. First, team members carry a large array metal detector over the ground, watching and listening in their instruments for any indication of metal. A dropped cone indicates that further investigation is called for. Later, working alone for safety, a single technician with a pinpoint metal detector returns to the cone. After pinpointing the exact location of the metal, and with no way to know yet whether it's a piece of shrapnel or a live bomb, the technician carefully excavates. There's no live ordnance here, so the technician moves on to the next cone. Safety is paramount, and when team members are working with live ordnance, everyone has to keep their distance. Here, though, so that we can see up close, team members enact a demonstration of what happens when they find a bomb. First, a supervisor verifies and then documents the find. Next, the now exposed bomb is insulated with sandbags and marked off with warning signs and tape. Not far from this demonstration, the team had earlier found an actual explosive, as Technical Operations Manager Andy Crump explains.
You'll see the ball bearing shape, and you'll see everything in there. It is slightly corroded, but that is the real deal.
The same real deal that we would see just a few hours later in a nearby schoolyard. Destroying explosives involves the entire team, which gathers first for a safety briefing to ensure that sentries are posted, that no outsiders are in the area, and that everybody knows what happens if there is an emergency. The team leader and a deputy wire the bomb with plastic explosive and begin unreeling hundreds of yards of detonator cable. Sentries with megaphones warn people to stay away. Hundreds of yards away, at the detonator switch location, the sentry reports come in. All is clear. Not long after, another team detonates a bomb in a schoolyard just up the road. The explosions are shocking, earth-shaking, but they're the sound of hope. Here, at the base of a karst mountain not far away, a team clears the deadly remnants of yesterday's conflict. Moments after they finish, a farmer follows behind, sowing the seeds of tomorrow. Sponsoring this work puts Restoration Lao in exalted company, but I'm prouder still of the company we support.